We are live. I'm getting used to these lives where I cannot tell that I'm on. I just start talking because you might be live. So
You're live.
This is Celeste Miller. And let's see, why is that not working here? Okay, I just accepted someone and it stopped me out of Zoom. So Christina, welcome. I wanted to ask you to put on your stop video and mute, and then after my interview with Celeste, we will open it all up for questions. You guys can ask questions and whatever. Do more of your heckling if you want. She's probably not going to see your heckling messages. We both get kind of distracted from those messages, so we might not see them. But okay, you guys, welcome. I am Sherry Braithwaite. I'm the facilitator of Thriving Singles Community, and I'm also the Thriving Singles Community is kind of I guess a grassroots part for Dating Olympics, the preliminary parts for Dating Olympics. So I'm asking everyone to put your microphones on mute. I think I can mute it from here, so that just helps for feedback. Celeste is, oh my gosh, she reached out to me a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. And I'm just gonna keep admitting people as I'm talking.
You're fine.
And so she wanted me to be on the Flameless Fireside podcast. And I've heard about it, but I had never really watched any of the interviews. And so I was not completely familiar with Celeste or with the Flameless Fireside podcast. So it sounds like many of you don't have your microphones on mute. Put it on mute so we can get the background sound.
That's always the funnest part.
You're better at this because everyone knows everyone knows the deal. Now I'm gonna do view. I'm gonna do speaker view too. That might help a little. There. Okay. So Celeste, I know that she's adorable, as you can see, and as you know, and if you have been on any of her podcast interviews, she's just so engaging. And so I love her positive attitude and her faith. I know I don't mean to embarrass you, but that's what I love about you. And in your interviews, you always pick up on the most positive pieces, optimistic pieces about people's interviews and their life stories and what they get out of it. And Celeste is very passionate about supporting singles. And my group is for all Christian singles, not just Latter-day Saint singles, but for all Christian singles. And Celeste, I think, I don't know if I'm correct, I think you mostly specialize with Latter-day Saint singles, right? Am I right with that? Or do you? Yeah, so she has, and that's because we're both Latter-day Saint. That's just because she wants to, that's her group of friends. That's where she hangs. So.
Those are my people.
Yes. So I'm just going to ask people just real quick that I've admitted recently that you haven't heard this. We're going to ask you to put your microphones on mute and your cameras also on. So let's see who else. I don't want to embarrass anyone, but if you have. I'm going to put some people on mute here. That might help a little too. But we will have a chance to talk to Celeste at the end after she tells us her story and her message for us. So sorry, Celeste. Oh, look who's there.
Oh, goodness, John is here. He's going to hear me from the crowd too.
No heckling. So you're going to have your turn, John. You'll need to have your turn doing your own interview. This is Celeste's interview.
It's all yours, Celeste. Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to mute you, John. And will you also stop your videos just like you know the whole drill. Even though we love to see your face, John, and we love to hear what you have to say. Okay, so I know, so fun. These guys are so fun. If you guys don't know, I'm only going to assume that most people that are on here know about the Flameless Fireside podcast. But if you have never heard of it, you should check it out. They do that. Do you do it? Maybe not every Wednesday. I have seen sometimes when you don't do a Wednesday.
We do every Wednesday. Every once in a while, something comes up and we can't do a Wednesday, and so we'll just take the day off. But usually, it's every Wednesday. Yeah, 9 o'clock Central.
So I asked Celeste, what is the Flameless Fireside podcast when she invited me to be interviewed. And she said in a text, she said, I am 100% convinced that each of us in the singles world has a story that needs to be told. And I think telling our stories helps with the healing process, which is why I find our podcast therapeutic. And I agree with that too. John, that's in there too, he's a therapist. And so he can help out with our therapy needs, right?
Yes, he does.
When telling our story, he can kind of help us with the psychological part.
Yeah.
Okay, someone just joined. I think it's Michael. We need you to put your microphone on mute, please. And you've got your camera turned off. Okay, this is good, Celeste. You guys do a better job than I'm doing, because it seems like when I did this, you didn't even have to say this. That's true. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not as smooth on this, but
No, we have 3 trying to snag those.
oh, that's true. That helps. Okay, so I have a bunch of questions for Celeste, but I also want her to just tell what she wants to tell us about yourself, Celeste.
Okay.
And then what you're up to, why you do the podcast. I mean, you kind of explained a little bit in that comment, but any more that you have to add, and just what you're about and what is your message, to share whatever you want. And then we'll ask questions and I'll open up later for everybody else too. So.
Awesome. Okay, well, first, thanks for having me on, Sherry. I'm super excited to be here. I don't know why I'm nervous, but I am. So bear with me, because when I get nervous, I talk fast. So I will try to speak slowly so that I don't sound like a chipmunk. So, okay, so I entered the singles world mid 2020, and I had been married almost 25 years, just a couple of months shy. So the last time I was dating, we were like still attached to the wall with a cord, and there weren't cell phones, there wasn't internet, there wasn't anything like that. So it was a very, I was just like thrown into, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I was like drowning, like, what is all this stuff? So it took a while to get used to, but as I was finding my way, maneuvering my way through the singles scene, it was very evident to me that there are a lot of people feeling kind of like me, kind of lost, kind of unsure in which direction they want to head, scared, hurt still, afraid of a new relationship. I mean, just on and on and on. There's lots of different things that I could see on these Facebook pages that people were struggling with. And so I started talking to Everett, and he had mentioned that he was thinking about starting a podcast. And so originally I wasn't one of the hosts. I was like the original OG audience member, number 1 right here. So he was doing the podcast with a couple other people. And I really thought this was really an intriguing idea. It kind of had a different concept in the beginning, but it still was intriguing to me. And as it progressed, as it became and developed and changes were made with hosts and lineup and format, all of those things, it kind of just took on this grassroots kind of feel. Like, we as Latter-day Saints need to reach, single Latter-day Saints kind of need to reach out and help each other, because the church is aware. I mean, they did announce like over 51% of the adults in the church are single. We are the majority. Doesn't look like that, doesn't feel like that, but we definitely are. And so they're aware, but to get a worldwide church to come up with a program and leadership and things like that for so many people, that's going to take a while. So as the podcast just developed, I just kind of just had this feeling like, because we do it for free. We don't make anything on it. And I'm like, this is, and we've had so many people like reach out and say, I love coming because I feel alone sometimes. And I feel like a connection there. I feel like I have friends. I feel like, I have a niche where I can belong. And it just hit me. I'm like, this is what needs to happen. Yes, the church is working on things, but we as singles need to lift where we stand. We need to reach out to those around us and just lift where we stand. So that's kind of how the podcast came about. I personally find a lot of therapy from it, as I told you. It's interesting to see and hear these individuals, get to know them. I am convinced, 100% convinced, I could go on any of these Facebook pages, grab anybody that's posting or anyone in there, throw them on a podcast, and they'd have a story.
Yeah.
Like they'd have something to share, some hardship or some triumph or just something that could inspire and uplift others. And so, yeah, so when I say that I think that this is something that is a grassroots thing, that's why all of us can lift where we stand and all of us can support each other, and we all have stories. Like it's just we're all in the same boat is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought on the podcast. That's not my podcast, it's Everett's podcast, but I have become one of the main hosts, regular hosts. So and I do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, so I kind of get to see a little bit and interact with some of or most of the guests before they come on, so I kind of get to hear their stories beforehand. So
that's so cool. I love it. You said so many things and I'm thinking I should have written it all down. I forget. Make this practice so easy. But I loved what you were saying about how you said you could grab anyone and they would have a story to share.
Yeah.
And I also was thinking that in my experience too, in this group that I'm in, in this group we have everyone who is influential in any way. It's all the singles are influential, and there's therapists, and there are life coaches and public speakers, and so it is and here I feel, and I said this in your podcast, I don't want to reiterate it too much, but you also said you can just, what did you say, lift where you stand? Is that how you said it? So everyone has gifts too. Everyone has a place where they can lift themselves and help others around them. So, and it's not a competition. I love that about your attitude also, is that it's not about having the best event plan so everyone will come to your event or whatever it might be, but it's just everybody supporting each other and all throwing in their own 2 cents and their own ways of supporting.
Right.
I think your message too is that we really can make a difference by each of us telling our stories, right? Make a difference from telling our stories, but then also being available for others to tell our stories. So
that's right.
So someone can't hear anything. Who is it that someone can't hear anything?
That's y'all's most favorite. I don't know who that is, but y'all's most
favorite can't hear anything. Can everyone else hear? I don't know. We're hoping everyone else can hear.
So I was going to just add on something, because the interesting thing about the competition thing is the reason why I like to state that is because we have all sorts of people that come on our show, and I actually go a lot of times to other Facebook groups and pages and ask their admins to come on and share what they're doing to help support the singles. And people will say, why are you bringing other competition on? I'm like, I don't view it as competition. I think that the more we all come together and support, the more we all unite and uplift those around us, it can't be a bad thing. So why would we want to turn it into something bad? That's just kind of my outlook.
It's the attitude of we're all on the same team. We're all doing the same. We're all helping each other in different ways. That's what I like too, is that not everyone is going to be drawn to my group. Not everyone is going to put up with my dorkiness, my tears, and there's a lot of people that would connect with me because of who I am, and then also connect with you because of who you are. So that's what I see it too, is that if you have something to share it, share your story and your message, and share yourself in whatever way that is, and don't feel threatened by anyone else.
I agree.
Yeah. So what are some ways? Do you want to tell us ways that you have thought of that we can help each other? We can do the podcast, we can share our stories. What else?
The thing is I think that it depends on where you're at in life, right? Some people are newly divorced, they're still struggling, trying to figure things out. Some people are like old school divorced or widowed or whatever, and they've had some time to kind of still heal and recognize their place in the system, right? But I honestly believe all of us, like you said, have talents. All of us can either support those who are putting together podcasts or dances or outings whatever they might be doing, because maybe they focus more on their ability to organize, but maybe you have a really good ability to support. And so, just whatever you're good at, just get out there and do it. And I really think, I know we talked on this before, that or behind the scenes, I guess it wasn't on here, but I just lost it. I don't know what I was going to say. It left. Anyway.
That happens to me all the time.
This is what happens when you're my age. You start forgetting everything. But I was also going to say that when it comes to supporting, like for me personally, obviously I do this podcast, and ironically, I've been trying to figure out what path I want to take in life. I'm kind of at this spot where it's like, I kind of feel lost. I still feel lost. And I'm just unsure of where I'm supposed to be headed and where I should head and what I need to do, like career-wise, what I need to do just with life. And so it gets kind of tough. And so at the beginning of the year, I kind of threw together this, like I had this brainstorm idea. I'm just going to brainstorm all these things I can do that can help me help others. And I'm just going to throw them all on there. And then one day after one of the podcasts during an after party, I just kind of threw out there that I was thinking about being a dating coach, and it was kind of half-hearted. I was just kind of laughing and joking, but I had people reaching out, hey, if you're really doing that, I'm interested. So, I did a lot of praying on it, and I kind of got like go ahead, give that a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm actually in school right now to get the coaching certificate. And so that's another way I'm going to try to help, because I recognize, okay, first of all, coaching is pricey. I didn't realize how expensive that stuff was for people.
Yeah.
So I'm going to attempt, I don't know, this is kind of just still in the works, but just attempt to try to help others in that way, maybe at a somewhat discounted cost. I'm not sure. Haven't come up with all the details, but that's another way I'm trying to like help. So
that's awesome. Celeste, you have all these cheerleaders, people cheering you on, saying go Celeste. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's really good to be able to have a friend like Celeste that has such an optimistic perspective and attitude in life. And that sometimes might be all that it needs. All that someone needs is just a little bit of that optimistic encouragement. So go, yes, that's awesome.
We'll see.
So I'll tell you what I found for whatever it's worth. Okay. In the group, it happened with me similar. I had never wanted to be a mentor, and I will also be honest, I had never heard of a mentor before. I mean, I've heard of I know what a mentor is, but what does that mean as someone who makes money, a profession? And I was given a free ticket to go to some, what's it called? Some mentor training. I don't remember what it was, but I absolutely loved it. And I learned all these techniques, and I learned all these tools for the coaching tools and stuff that like you're talking about. And they're techniques and tools for helping you, the emotional resilient stuff. This really does sometimes take a tool. Whether it's writing in your journal certain ways or visualizing and whatever, declaration, all that kind of stuff. Art of mentoring, Eric, yay, yep, you said it. It's with 3 key elements is what I went to. And I ended up doing 2. I did the art of mentoring twice. And then I did just one step by step. I ended up with that organization spending thousands of dollars. Okay. And I went on to be certified as a mentor, which took, I think it's a 12-week training. And then I did public speaking with them. And then I guess what my point is, you just start small. And then I think that God just takes you by the hand, step by step. And you don't even need to envision what it is going to be in the end. It's just where you are. Like you said, I love that you said you stand where you are. Stand right where you are.
Lift where you are.
Yes, lift where you are. So it's funny when you say that. I think of the phrase when I was in Young Women's 100 years ago. The phrase of bloom where you are planted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's anyway.
The lift where you're standing phrase I stole from a conference. I don't know if it was Elder Dorf or what, but somebody said that during conference, had a really cool talk that went along with it. And it just really, even in that point, it resonated with me because I think just in general, if everybody helps those around them to their capacity of what they can do to help or to lift. And if that happens everywhere, everyone's being lifted, everyone's using their talents, and everyone's being
Yeah.
supported. So I think it's a
Uh,
fabulous concept.
Yes, I love it. Celeste, so well, actually, I'm going to write this question down so that I'll remember at the end to ask. To the audience, I have a question for the audience. In fact, I can just ask you. I'll just ask you guys and you just throw it in the chat and we'll answer to your answers. My question is, what are some things that you are doing right now to support where people that you are surrounded by you? What are some ways that you are supporting others or where you are lifting where you stand? I can't remember that.
Okay.
Yes. Give examples if you want to, if you have any examples. I know for the people in my community, my online community, that it is with people who are just really sometimes just telling their story, where they were a few years ago and where they are today. And that just offers enough hope for some people because they say, well, that's where I am. So I could actually be there, like just a few adjustments. Doing life coaching. Eric is doing life coaching, same thing to help. I remember in fact, he has a story that would be fun to share sometime on your podcast. He does.
Yeah, he actually is coming on soon.
Oh, good. Oh, yay. Awesome. Very good. Yes, life coaching. And I've heard people say there are thousands of life coaches. Why would you want to be a life coach? My answer is always like what I said before, is that the people will be drawn to you because of your personality and your experience and who you are, and they won't be drawn to anyone else. So, I mean, they might be. You might have 10 coaches. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that there's a place for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like when you're trying to find a therapist, which is more focused on, the past and your trauma and whatever you've dealt with. You want to find someone who fits. So I think the more the merrier, because if you connect with a coach, which is someone who's trying to help you look forward and move forward, right? You want to fit. You want to have that, instant connection to where you guys see eye to eye and you have the similar personalities. So everyone's personality aren't the same. So having all the variety of coaches is amazing. It's the great way to do it. Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the hot seat now.
Oh, me? All right. Woohoo.
Yeah, it hasn't been hot yet.
Not yet.
I thought of this question, and I don't know if I would love this question being asked of me.
Bring it on. Bring it
maybe
on.
it's okay. I just thought to ask you, okay, so if this was a job interview for if you were applying to be a coach, like the most amazing coach on the planet, Latter-day Saint planet, what would be, okay, this person needs to turn off their camera. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, just click on the 3 little dots and
there you go. Okay.
It'll give you the
yeah, so you don't have to interview. No, that's too hot. Too hot of a seat. Just tell us your life story. Tell us what qualifies you to be a life coach. That might be something that you can share with us, is where were you and then what have you done to get to where you are now since 2020 or even before that.
Okay.
That might be a good, anyway.
Yeah. Well,
hot seat.
So with my divorce, there was several years prior where we're just trying to figure things out and work things out and try to just get past a situation that had occurred. And so it was really, really tough on me. I had I think they were 18 months old at that time, twins, and then like a 5-year-old and like a 9-year-old and whatever, close to those ages. And my ex traveled a lot. So I was alone and I homeschooled at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So I had a lot going on and I was trying to balance it all. So I actually found an amazing therapist. And this therapist, I went to her for almost 5 years. She helped me to gain a lot of tools and an understanding of just human nature and the way we think and act and things like that. So I've kind of got a really good grasp of that. I'm actually senior year of a marriage and family degree, and then to continue on to marriage and family therapy. So I've got a lot of psychology classes under my belt, not marriage and family classes under my belt, all of that. And honestly, since I've come into the single scene and kind of dealt with the podcast and did a lot of interaction on the Facebook pages and stuff, like I find that people come to me with questions. Like it seems like almost every podcast afterward, people are asking me questions about what they should do or dating advice or whatever. And so I don't know. I'm not sure why, but they do. So there must be something about, I don't know, the way I
Energy,
talk, the way I deliver. I don't know what it is, but they
your optimism and your energy, I think I would say.
yeah, it could be that something attracts them to want to ask me for advice. And so I don't know, I kind of feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on just kind of just I'm not really emotional. I don't have a lot of emotions, right? I'm kind of more of a logical person, which can be not the best. Like I know I'm like not the typical female because females are all emotional and crazy, but
Mhm.
I think the logical side of me that usually rules my way of thinking helps people because I can kind of remove the emotion and just kind of look at it factually and give them more of a, okay, I know you're feeling like this and I know you want to do that, but hey, let's think about this in a, more logical sense. And would you really want to do that? Maybe do something different. So yeah, I think I've got a lot that to offer people. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know how the Lord's going to use this or how long he'll use this, but I do like the fact that I'm going to be helping others who are in a similar situation that I'm in, and they just want some,
Good.
advice to get going forward. So,
Yeah. Oh, you'll be so good at that. I'm excited to
you.
hear more about what you're doing and even have you helping us in some of our we do book clubs and such, and that's also helpful for people to just give their 2 cents and their input and stuff. So that's cool. So okay, I have some getting to know you questions.
Oh, all right, cool. I like those.
Let me see if anyone has any questions in the chat first, real quick, in case someone's feeling like they're being ignored. I think they're just chatting with each other because they know we're ignoring them.
That's okay. They like to do that.
No, you guys like to be ignored. You can talk to each other. Oh, okay. Well, here's a good question. What did you learn in 2020 about yourself?
Okay.
Funny. Oh my gosh. I
That's a
wanted to hear more about
question.
that. That was one thing I wanted to hear more about because 2020 was hell for
Yeah.
everyone. So even you more, especially if you're going through a divorce, for sure.
Yeah. So that was a really, really tough year for everybody. But it was a really, really super extra tough year for me.
For
It
sure.
was crazy. At the beginning of the year, my ex-husband moved out at the very beginning of the year. Um, and we started the divorce process. Um, it was interesting because we had to sell the house we had before. And so I ended up in a different ward. Um,
Mm,
okay, it's hard to be in a ward during 2020, but
yeah.
it's super hard to relocate to a new ward during 2020 because you're still doing church at home.
Mhm.
So I had to learn because I always have really enjoyed the connection of my friendships and things at church. I like the spiritual side, obviously, but I've always also liked the social side. So having a new like family in the home and having to deal with kids that were struggling with the fact that their father had moved out and then having to be stuck in your home
Mhm.
and having to not go to church. I mean, like school wasn't home. Like it was just really, really crazy. Um, but through it, I realized a couple of things. First of all, that I'm stronger than I thought I was. This whole divorce has taught me that I'm stronger than what I thought I was.
Yeah.
I think if you would have told me a couple of years prior to the divorce, oh, this is what's going to happen, and this is the path, and this is all what's going to go down, I probably would have said, "There's no way I can handle all that. I can't do that. There's no way I could do all that." Um, but the Lord is good and he's supportive and he somehow just helped me right through it. I mean, it was hard. Don't get me wrong, it was really hard. But I was able to make it. So that one thing with 2020 was just that I had to live each day individually. I really couldn't think too far ahead. Sometimes it was just the hour. Like I've got to make dinner.
Yeah, get out of bed.
I'll deal with everything else.
Yeah.
But because there was just so many moving parts during that era in my
Mhm.
life. But once the divorce was done and I kind of entered into the single scene about I think it was July 2020. Then there was a whole other like shift. Like all of a sudden there was like I had to deal with guys and like talking to guys and like people wanting to get to know me and having to sort through. And I mean, it was overwhelming to me. But again, I learned a lot from the process and again, I think I'm stronger. for just having to just deal with these hardships. I mean, who would think that I would never have thought I'd be at this place at my age? This is not
Yes,
where I wanted to be. This was not the plan.
you
So,
know, never. Then that's good. That's something you were just saying. I thought about that, and this is just my personal belief. I still have yet to have an experience where this does not apply, but I have learned that the support that comes from the Lord is always equal to the trial. Like it's as positive and comforting and strengthening on this end as it is challenging and trying on the other end.
yes.
So it kind
Yeah.
of equals out, I guess. And sometimes a little less so that you can grow, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you have to stretch a little bit more. So, but I do find that. I'm glad that you said that you grew closer to the Lord and you understood. You knew
Yeah.
that He was
Well,
there.
and I think when there's devastation or hard trials in your life, I think the Lord gives you a fork in the road. Are you going to
Ah,
turn to me and I can help you through this? Or are you going to be upset at me and turn away? And I think he has grace for both routes. I think he understands if someone opts for the turn away option. But the thing is, if you turn to the Lord and have him help carry the burden, at the end of the trial, you can look back
yeah.
and see your journey and see all of the things you've learned and the person you've become. And even though you don't want to go back down that journey, you want to repeat it, you can still look at it and say, in some ways, I'm glad I went through that because now I'm this person. This has shaped me into who I am now, and I'm a better person. Though I would never have wanted it,
Yeah.
other people's choices brought me down this path, and I used their agency to help me become a better person. So,
And God does that too. He helps
yeah.
us. He helps us turn all of these, that what evil happens to us, he always turns it to be good. I've learned that too. So there are some great comments that I've been just kind of glancing, noticing popping up here and there. People are agreeing with you. Exactly, Celeste. Fence sitters getting knocked off.
You got to make a choice.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's merciful when we choose to turn away. He is merciful. He understands. He knows we're human and that we're gonna struggle.
And he'll keep trying. He'll
He's
keep
there
trying
to,
to
yeah,
reroute us.
yes, and he'll anchor you if you
Yeah.
let him. Okay, so so this is your practice for being a dating coach.
Oh, okay.
What
I'm
is
still in school, so be nice. Okay, go ahead.
You're great. I bet this is true. This is coming from the heart, not yet.
Okay.
What is the greatest piece of advice for someone you can choose, either newly dating, newly married, or newly divorced, who comes to you for advice?
Okay. Wow. That's a good one.
If you're doing dating, then that's probably only going to be the newly dating.
Yeah. So, or, a newly divorced thinking about dating might
Yes,
come
that's
too, but
good. Yeah.
we'll go with the dating. So this is the thing, and this is kind of my concept. I'm kind of developing, sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words here, a program to where I feel like, and I know we've seen this phrase so many times, but I truly believe it, that you want to become the type of person you want to attract. And so with the dating style coaching that I have, it's also self-improvement. And, you're going to need to know who you are and what you want to be, along with who you want. And they kind of have to match up. And if you need to, change something about yourself, better yourself, improve yourself, move forward in something so that you can attract the person that you would be interested in, then that's the concept that's kind of behind what I would want to do. I think if you only focus on your game and how am I going to say this phrase to whoever and how do I approach him, I just think it's kind of a fail that way. I don't think you can go too far, but if you're working on yourself to become your best self, so that you can attract the type of person you want to attract, then I think that that's a good winning combination.
Very good. That's good. Okay, I'll take your services.
Okay, cool.
Goodbye. I won't be your first client, I guess. I would be among.
I got some test runs going right now, so.
And I actually saw someone saying that. Who was it?
Skip. I'm doing Skip, so he's my buddy right now.
Awesome. Hey, so we'll have to ask Skip how it goes.
Well,
Girls. Hey,
we can,
just so
but
you know, I have to tell you guys, disclaimer for coaches, that it's not on the coaches if you don't have the success that you're looking for. It's on you. You have to take their advice, I guess. I don't know.
well, it's
I
about
can't do
choices,
that.
right?
It is true.
Choices on what
You
you
don't have
want
to
to
take their
do to move
advice.
yourself forward.
Sometimes you take their advice and then that was worse than what we thought. So you still are responsible for your choices.
That's right.
Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to do a couple more because I think
Okay.
that the audience is dying to ask you their own getting to know you.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, okay, here's one. If you got a tattoo, what would it be and where would you put it?
I love that.
Is
I
that-
love that that's kind of scandalous. Okay, if I got a tattoo, where would I put it? It would have to be like hip bone, right around there. What would it
Hurt.
be? I don't know. That's gonna have to be something like, I don't know, maybe like gosh, what would I? Oh, a daisy. I would so put a daisy.
Oh, Daisy.
They're my
Oh,
favorite flowers. So maybe just a little
fun.
daisy or something cute, a word underneath it, but definitely, yeah, daisy. Yep. for
Love
sure.
it.
Yep.
Very good. Okay. So I'm just going to do one more, guys, and then just be ready to ask your questions. We're going to throw you out here to join the party. Okay, let's see. It has to be a good one then, doesn't it?
Yes. I
Okay.
like good ones.
Okay. What was the happiest age of your life and why?
Wow. Okay, so that's a tough one. Happiest age of my life. Okay, so we're not going to give a specific age. We're going to give a time span.
Okay, yeah.
So
Days
a
and
little bit of backstory on me. So my first two children are adopted, and then my twins were conceived through IVF. So fertility or infertility was a really big struggle in my life for many, many years. And I truly believe only those who have gone through it can really understand the emptiness and the sorrow that comes along with that, especially in the church. It's
yeah.
just super, super hard. So my happiest age was when I became a mother. You know, I had wanted that for so long. When I was in high school, you know, the counselors, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd always put mom. And I'm like, they're like, you know, like, where do you want to go to school? I'm like, I don't want to go to school. I just want to be a mom. Like, that was my thing, right? I just wanted to be a mom. And so it was ironic that the one thing that I've always wanted, like growing up the whole time, was the one thing that the Lord made me fight for and really tested me on my faith and my belief in him and willingness to follow him. So the moment I became a mom, the first time, the second time, and the third and fourth time together, it was all of that. Like they're all miracles. I could tell you storylines for every single one of them and how miraculously the Lord can come in and just shift things around and create miracles. And every single one of my children have a miracle story on how they became my child. So that would be it. They are my joy. They have brought me much happiness. So
That is so cool. I love it. And our stories align. We'll have to chat sometime.
Oh, okay, cool.
This is your interview, so I won't pipe in.
No,
I can say we definitely relate. Okay, so now on your podcast, you guys are a little more classy.
Oh, we are? Woo-hoo,
So-
all right. Thank you.
You guys turn off your recording and you turn off your streaming when we open up the party.
Okay.
And then have you found that that's the best way? Because maybe it's not a good idea to stream and record the party.
We just found that people are more open and feel more comfortable if there's not something being recorded. That's it. There were certain people that didn't care if it was recorded or not, but there were others that are like, I'm still going to stick with my camera off and I'm not going to say anything because I don't want what I say recorded. So that's why we did it.
So then what would be your suggestion? We can let all you guys say, what do you want to do? Do we want to keep streaming live or do we want to close the live? And
Sherry, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no. I want you to give me
I was just
what you want to do.
We had two ways of doing it before we shortened our our lineup, we would have a question answers where people could come on live, and if they
Okay.
wanted to turn on their light, I mean their audio and video and have it. And then we just had the after party after when everyone else could jump in. So we
Okay.
took them one at a time before. So I mean, I'm game for whatever you want to do. It's all good.
Okay, this is what I'll do, you guys. I'm just making an executive decision. So I'm fine with you opening up your cameras so we can see everyone on the cameras. However, if you have a question that you want to ask, just like Eric did, is to put your reaction in the reactions down on the bottom, raise your hand so that we'll just go in order of people who raise their hand. And that, I think that will keep it will be good for questions. And then, yeah, we can open it up for 10 minutes to just be crazy and open up all your microphones. But first, let's answer all the questions for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we can open up for the party. How about that?
Awesome.
Okay, Eric has a question first. Eric.
Oh, got to get his mic going.
Okay. Yeah, that's
If
okay.
you shut it,
There we
oh,
go.
there we go.
Okay, sorry, I had unmute still. Okay, so my question for you, Celeste, is how did you come to relying on and creating such a deep connection with God?
Oh, okay. So I honestly don't know the answer to that. All I know is that I was kind of just born with this belief system like inside me. I honestly believe that, where they say that some people are born with the gift of faith. I think I was one of those. So I was raised in an inactive home. We went to church off and on, but I always just had this desire. So I was always praying and always doing what I thought I needed to do. I didn't have all the answers, but what knowledge I did have, I would do. There came a point where I would walk to church alone. For a couple years, I would go to church every Sunday and walk alone. And sadly, since I kind of came from an inactive family and my mom was single and we really didn't have a lot of money, I would walk to church and then get teased for being poor and whatever, and then just walk home. But I still knew I needed to be there. And so I would go every week. And I did that up until my early teenage years. And then I kind of fell away. I still had a belief. I still prayed. I still knew he was there. I just didn't really have a lot of structure in the home and stuff to keep me on the right path. So honestly, when I met my ex-husband when I was 21, he had come from a similar situation and he was trying to get back into the church. And so we kind of just both were like, oh, we're both trying to become active. And then we both became active, and I've been active ever since. But I do know that every time I go through a trial and I turn to him for strength and support, like it just grows my faith. I just become more certain that he's there because I can feel it. I receive revelation, things like that. So he makes himself known to me. So I know he's there. So that's that. I don't really have an answer really, but that's my journey.
Line up online. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So let's ask. Thank you, Eric. I hope I'm saying this right. Syra, did I say that right? Syra May. Okay, Syra. So you can go
Yes.
first. Then there is also someone, and so Anthony Kramer mentioned some phones don't have the hand ability. So you can raise your hand too. We'll have Syra say her question first, and then we can do either the virtual hand or the hand raising, so that everyone can have a chance. We'll just do that for like 10 minutes because I think everyone's going to want to be. Hey, Matt, but Matt, can you put yours on mute? Just I'll put it on there just for a minute while we hear Syra ask her question and let's answer it. Okay, you're gone, Syra.
Okay, so is this interview like, is there a specific theme for these questions, or can we ask anything?
I think anything. Celeste, what do you think? Hot seat? Let's do hot.
I'm not really sure.
There might need a limitation on that.
No,
I'm good with whatever. I'm pretty open. So
she'll just say, no, I can't answer that word. No, that's fine too.
Okay, so this has we're not going to refer to your current boyfriend or whatever, but if you were going to propose to your significant other, how would you do it?
Oh my goodness. Ooh, I never even thought about that.
Would you propose to a man? That's a good one.
Probably not, honestly. But if I were going to, it's going to be somewhere like beautiful. I'm going to take that boy. Where am I going to take him? I'm going to take him somewhere. Of course, it's going to be a beach, and it's going to be at sunset where it's super beautiful. And Okay, what would a guy like though? I don't know. I was gonna say rose petals and stuff, but that's probably not guyish. I don't
Never
know,
know.
sprinkle some guns and ammo on the just joking, on the beach. No, honestly, I just think a beautiful background, a beautiful view. But more importantly, it just needs to come from the heart. Wherever you're at, or wherever I'm at with this man, and I'm going to tell him I want to marry him. I think as long as I'm speaking from the heart and it comes across that I truly do love him and that I want to be with him forever, like it should go well. But a beach at sunset, absolutely. That's
Very
the way to
good.
go.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Syra, do you know how to lower your hand too? I don't know if you might.
Yes, I do.
Others, if they don't know, you just lower it the same way that you raise it. So Anthony, you brought it up. So if you have a question that you want to ask, you're next, because you mentioned that you might have an issue with our virtual hand raising feature. But maybe you don't have a question. Maybe you're just looking out for all the
Well,
others. Who knows?
No, yeah, I was just looking at, I just noticed in
Yeah.
other Zoom classes, for some
Oh.
reason, some have the capability and some don't.
That's good. That's good to be aware for sure. Okay,
Yeah,
guys, we're
I do
opening
have
up.
a, well,
Okay.
no, I do have a question though.
All right.
Well, I have a plug, I guess I should
Oh,
say.
plug.
Not a
All right.
plug in there.
Okay.
And also just because of what she just said, yeah, I don't know if rose petals is the way to go, but
Yeah,
you
probably
can
not.
work on that when it comes, in your dating deal.
We're gonna
But,
throw out some ammo, Anthony. We're gonna
yeah,
just
there you go. Yeah, ammo, fishing lures, stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
the way
Right
to
now.
go.
Yeah, valuable stuff. It's gold.
I do have a plug though, and I think it's because, is John still on here? Or is he gone?
he is.
All right, John, do you
Where's John?
feel okay? And then, it's not really for Celeste. It's just because we've talked a lot about it, and Celeste talks a lot about it, so it kind of is. I mean, Celeste, but John, do you feel alone in Utah, or feel like the church isn't supporting singles in Utah?
John is not on the hot seat, so he can't answer that. Celeste, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna answer for John because I know exactly what he would say.
Oh, okay.
He's going to say that we need to just support ourselves. Like he's the one that's like, dude, if you don't feel like going to church, just go to church. I mean, just go.
Right.
Go and make it happen. Do what you need to do. He has amazing wards. I don't know. He has like supportive wards that always reach out, and he gets right in the middle there, and he's a part of them. He doesn't ever feel like he's an outcast. So that might be his personality. It might be his outlook. It might be he's got a fabulous ward. I'm not sure what it is, but I do think he's probably going to say that it's your mindset and how you look at things, your outlook on life.
Okay, I guess I would go a little bit with that because I guess that's kind of how I feel. But also, it's location. I promise you, it's just location.
Yeah,
Because the church does a lot. I feel like the church does do a lot for us in the Outer Banks, but like the people they call don't have any. Most of them don't have any desire to track down like the 600 people in my ward that are single.
That's why,
Whatever.
Anthony, I'm sorry. I'm over here saying we need to be grassroots. I kid
Right.
you not. Like we all need to get involved, and not so much even like, yes, with the church, making sure that our bishops and our stake presidents know we're there and we're wanting to do whatever, but just search out your own people in your ward that are less active. Create an outing to do once a month, or I mean, whatever. Like we need to be the people going out and doing, because the church is going to take a long time before it comes up with a worldwide program and a worldwide leadership to deal with us singles. And so we have got to be the hands and the feet of Christ right now. There is no doubt about that in my mind.
And I'm not trying to come down to you or anything. I would just present, it might just be location, because like here, nobody does anything. There's like 4 of us. But I've been lucky enough to get involved in some of the bigger groups that were grassroots. And this has become like a huge grassroots group.
Some of the beer groups? What are we talking about?
No, grassroots groups.
I thought he said some of the beer groups. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
no.
Church.
I might have, but some of the singles groups or some of the larger, LDS groups. But it is always better. I find that the ones I do like it when there is priesthood involved, because a lot of them aren't priesthood involved, and to me they don't go as well. But that's my personal opinion. But it's just location. Because if we were all out in Utah, we all would not ever go a day without
Something
having
to do.
somebody.
They definitely have more people, more things going on out there. That is for
Right.
sure.
So I have a question for you, Celeste, and everybody else.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can finish,
No,
and
no, no.
let
I'll
you finish.
finish. I'm done. That's just my
Sorry
plug, I
about
guess.
that. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony.
After this question,
Yeah, I'm sure you love that. So
this is a sincere curiosity.
Okay.
Because I don't feel that way. I don't look to the church for my answers. I mean, I'm curious what people think the church would be able to do for you that's different than you could do for yourself or your friends, or I don't know, event planners.
Is this for
Who
me?
knows? Like what? No, yeah, it's first you, but even
Okay.
the group. If any, I just wonder what people are. What if people feel like the church is not supporting them? Where's that coming from? What is that? What are they expecting that's not being fulfilled?
Okay, so I'm going to say first, I think there's a difference between the church leadership and the culture.
Yeah.
So, church leadership they're the ones who are making like the programs and stuff. There's someone, I'm sure people have heard him several times on our podcast say that he believes that there needs to be a church general leadership for singles. Like they're our own, so that we can have someone represent us, not just as being a male or female with Relief Society or priesthood, but also as singles that truly understand us and can truly focus just on us as singles in the church. So I think that's a fabulous idea. Secondly, with the culture, I think within the church on Sundays, I think there needs to be more inclusion, not just with people, but topics. And because when I stand up and say, talk, or like I make a comment about being divorced and whatever, like people like it sometimes, but you can feel them just kind of close off, like almost like, ooh, she said the word. Ooh, now it's going to happen to me. Like it's like some evil thing. And so I think as we're more willing to open up and discuss topics that maybe we usually don't, like my children, they go to primary, they get to hear about forever families, and they get to hear about, oh, I'm so happy when daddy comes home and all of those things. And they
Yeah.
don't have that currently right now. Like their home is broken. And so I think it's important. Yes, we teach the standard, but I also think it's important to recognize that most of these kids have something going on in the home that isn't fairy tale. It's not the perfect setting. And so I think it's important that we open up our minds and our hearts to be willing to talk about maybe tough subjects that we in the past have shunned away from because we fear that if we talk about it, it'll come about. And that's just not true. Honestly, the more we talk about it, the more we educate ourselves, the less likely it will come about. So that's kind of my thought.
That's good. So we have
There you go.
Michael and then Jeff Tykert, and then we'll just open it up to everyone to just go crazy. Okay, Michael.
Hey, Sherry, first time caller, long time fan.
Yeah.
Hey, Celeste. So I apologize. I'm like out doing things, so I'm only catching little bits here and there. So please cut me a little slack. Don't hit me too much if I cover something else that's already covered. But I don't live in a heavily mid-single populated area. To my knowledge, I know pretty much all of them, and I gone on dates here and there. It's just not something I haven't found really any interest. So what I do is I spend my time concentrating on just like my own stuff, like making sure I'm the best possible match. And I've made that surrendering like to Heavenly Father. I've just said, hey, here's the thing. I've made good decisions, I've made bad decisions, and you know me, my heart, what I need, regardless of the consequences. If I am single for the rest of this life, or if I'm get married, I say the answers, and so I will just trust you in this. And I do. And my work, and everybody says, well, you have to work hard, you have to put it, and I agree, but my work, having faith is still working, and improving yourself, being your best possible self for the person that Heavenly Father can put in your path is still working. So inside Utah, outside Utah, whatever, your work there's still work for you to do. you just, and then faith, which in faith, honestly, for me at least, is an active principle. And so, and yeah, there's times where I get discouraged, but I've had, like, romantically, I've had horrible experiences and I've had amazing experiences. And both of those Heavenly Father had his hands in putting into my life so that I could learn some really important things. And I have, thankfully, maybe not everything that I could have learned, but I've had just some tremendously amazing experiences. I'm a better person for those experiences. And so I don't know. I could go on forever. You guys, anybody that knows who I actually am knows I can talk forever. But the point is that, you know, for me, where I'm at dating, I've tried serial dating as much as I could, and it's just not, it's not me. And so my work is being ready to go out the door, like when I'm called.
Yeah.
I have this tattoo. I've met like 2 or 3 of you guys in person, but I have a tattoo on my forearm, and it says, it's a foreign language, but it says, "Majesty, by your summons do I arrive." And what that means is when the Lord calls me, I respond, and I, you know, humbly respond to his will. And that is hard. It's really hard. I have an ego. Maybe we're bigger than most of yours combined even, but gosh, I'm telling you all these like really deadpan jokes and nobody's laughing. I'm just really sad, but
That was my pity laugh for you.
anyway, so that's really the basis I have to say is that, you know, yes, work hard, but make sure that your connection with the Lord is strong so that you know what that work is supposed to be. And when he shows it to you, do it. Be willing, because willingness to me is what has saved my life. Willingness to do what God wants me to do, regardless of how hard it is. And you know, in every aspect of my life, whether it's dating and romance, or if it's you know, in gospel oriented things. So I'll thank you so much.
That's
Thanks,
a good
Michael.
perspective. Yeah. So Celeste, are you a serial dater or are you a intentional courtshiping dater? Because
Okay.
Jeff's gonna want to know about. I don't know if that's his question.
So I will be honest, when I first started dating, I am very selective. I would talk to people on Messenger a whole bunch. Like that didn't bother me. If you made it into like being like we were friends on Facebook, okay, either I really just thought you were a really good friend or maybe there was some progress. If you made it to like a Zoom call or like a phone call, I think there's only a handful of people that made it, unless they were friends, but only maybe 3 or 4 true people that I really was interested in that made it to that point. So I personally knew people via Messenger chit chat long before I'd ever really go on a date with them. So when I go on a date after the chit chat, I was like a one and done for the most part. Like I just don't see the need to mess around. I don't know. I know people really don't like that. They're like, "Oh, you should give people a chance." And I'm like, "Well, I've been talking to him for weeks." And I'm like, "Okay, maybe we'll try a date." It just wasn't right. I don't see why I need to keep going down that road with that individual. So I kind of think that's intentional. I think it's like, you know, I'm looking for the right person. I never dated just to go have fun and just like, I want a free dinner. You know, that phrase, they always throw that out there. I want free food, right? That was never me. So, and it's still not me. I mean, obviously I only date one individual now, but even before that, I mean, it was hard to climb up my ladder to let me, you know, do something with you. So, but I did that on purpose because I didn't want to lead anyone on, and I didn't, I don't know. I just didn't see like wasting the time if I knew it wasn't the right person. So.
Yes, when you have kids and you have other things
Yeah.
going on, I agree.
Limited time. So.
Okay, Jeff, do you have a question, Jeff, or a comment for Celeste?
A question. Well, I actually have 2 questions, but they're related.
All right.
By the way, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too, Jeff.
So Celeste, the first question is, how did you know when you were ready to start dating, following divorce and all that? Well, I'll ask that and then I'll follow up with the other one.
Okay, so my situation I think is a little different. The fall of my marriage took 7 years. So The first 4 years, I was very adamant about keeping the marriage together. I didn't care how I felt, or I never even considered me in the equation. I just wanted my kids to have a complete home. Because I was raised in a single parent home with my mom. So I had seen divorce. I had been through it as a kid, and it was horrific. And I never wanted that for my child. So for the first 4 years, I was just seriously fighting tooth and nail to just keep everything intact. The fifth year is kind of where I was kind of like, I don't know, is this going to work? Is this what I really want? So then I went through like a year, maybe year and a half, where I had to kind of come to grips with maybe this wasn't going to work out. And I kind of started getting in tune with like who I was. Do I want this? And I started kind of like processing my feelings on the situation. So the last 2 years of marriage, we were separated, either within the home. He was on one side of the house and I was on the other, or he had moved out. And it might have been a year and a half.
I did
So
that too for a year and a half, and it was
yeah,
the biggest hell I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
it was the thing is, so this is what's interesting with me and my ex. Obviously there's a lot of water under the bridge, and there's a lot of hurt feelings, and there's a lot of bitterness and pain and all that goes into all that, right? I mean, we were married almost 25 years. But at the same time, I think that there's been a lot of compassion as well. So we try to be really good co-parents. We try not to put the kids anywhere near the middle between us, things like that. So it wasn't that bad. It could have been really, really, really bad. But I think we were both so focused on the kids and doing what was right for them that we kind of put ourselves aside and did put them first. So I think we did a really good job of that. But during that separation, I really did a lot of healing, and I really did a lot of growing and accepting of what needed to happen. So by the time the divorce was finally final, like I was like like a horse out of the whatever, like the gates went open. I was like, I'm out of here. Right. So it was still hard. It was still difficult, but I was ready then because I had such a process. It was such a long process to get to the divorce. Some people, it happens so fast, wham, and they're like, I'm standing here divorced. And how did that happen? They would obviously need to take some time to do the therapy and do the counsel, like to just process and heal. Whereas I felt like I was ready, like as soon as that paper was signed, because I had already just done so much healing and processed a lot of it. So yeah.
So was that process through grieving and the
Mhm.
stages of grief and all that? Like
Yep.
how would you describe it?
It was horrible, honestly. It was one thing when I was trying to hold everything together because I had a goal. I had a reason to fight, right? It was almost like a mama bear, protecting her cubs. Like she's just going to do it till she can't do it anymore. Once I started putting my feelings into it and trying to heal me, and my therapist was trying to also help me with me, obviously. But once I was more open to that, expressing how I felt, expressing how it hurt me, expressing how just me, like I never really focused on me. It was hard. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've never felt so low in my life. Like I just was like, how did I get here? Where do I go from here? And how do I move forward? Because I just was so devastated that my kids were just gonna have a broken home, which I never, ever, ever wanted for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all the stages, absolutely. I think the anger stage was probably like the worst because even during our marriage, we just never fought really. Like there wasn't a lot of fighting going on. We just didn't. We got along pretty well. And so when the anger stage hit and there was actually some blow-ups, and the kids were in the home and that was not good. So they witnessed a couple of those, which they still talk about because they were traumatized by it. That was probably the hardest part because it did involve them. Because in that moment, I was just so mad that everything that I've ever wanted was taken from me, and it wasn't even my choice. I was just livid. So yeah, that was the hardest part. The anger was the hardest part. But now it's like, there's healing. The bitterness is pretty much gone. And we, honestly, he was just here tonight. My daughter's here. We all had dinner and they played games, and we talked. Like, we're very amicable as co-parents. So but it
you
was a
have done a
process.
lot of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a process. Absolutely. It was a very long process, probably for him as well. I'm sure he'd probably say something very similar. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would never, ever want to go through it again, but I would never want to give back what I've learned either. So.
Right. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. That's a interesting answer. I mean that in a good way. It gives folks a lot to think about. The second question, I believe you're somewhere remote church-wise, if I remember. So
I'm in Dallas.
Yeah.
I don't think that's remote.
I've attended mid-single events in Dallas before. I was a mid-single in Texas for 2.5 years. But anyway, the question I have about that is, I shouldn't ask, what has been your experience with long distance dating, and do you have any advice for people that are doing that?
Okay, long distance dating. Okay, LDRs are not for the faint of heart. I am just going to throw that out there. 100%. They are tough, no doubt. The thing is with long distance relationships, they're going to take a little longer, especially if people still need to heal, especially as you're trying to get to know each other from a distance. It's just hard. It's very difficult. But I think as long as you have open communication, and if you're trusting, and realize, like, for me, it's like, I just have to recognize, Everett's got his own life. He's over there doing his own thing, and I'm over here doing my own thing. And so, if communication isn't like, multiple times during the day, that's okay, because we're kind of doing our own thing right now. Right. And we'll kind of figure it out. So I think there takes a lot of patience. Just it's tough. I just think if you get into an LDR, you just need to realize it might move slowly, unless you're Heidi, of course. But Heidi just took a different route. We're not sure where she got her train from, but hers was like a speedy, like, bullet train. Mine's more like the gas, like Stoke. No, not gas, like the coal engine, whatever. The really slow one. Whatever slowpoke train is out there. That's the one I'm on. But Heidi was on the bullet version.
Hey,
The
Celeste,
HOV lane, express lane.
That's right.
you have to use last names because you freaked me
Oh,
out.
well, that's right. Sorry. Heidi used to be Posey. No, now Posey. Like, which one is it? No. So yeah. So the thing
Formerly
is,
Bacon.
That's
It
right.
used to be Bacon.
Bacon.
Yep.
That's right. Heidi used to be Bacon. No, the thing is with LDRs, honestly, I just think as long as you're willing to you have to work extra hard toward it, and you have to, when you have those moments to be together or to see each other or to connect via phone, whatever, just really, just dive in, really engage, because it's hard. It is super hard. I'm in Dallas. I'm all alone. I have no family here. My oldest daughter, who is probably someone I can talk to, she lives down in Houston. I would love to go and just move back and be with my family in Utah, because I literally have no one here, like, other than a few friends, but nobody that it feels 100% comfortable, or nobody that when I'm having a bad day, I can go and hang out with my mom or whatever. Like, that's just not an option for me. And so having my boyfriend also 2,000 miles away, like, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. It's tough.
Wait a second. Did I just hear you say that you want to move out of Texas? I want to get this down here.
Okay. Okay. I don't want to move out of Texas. I want to move near somebody, my family, or I just want someone near me that.
Or have them move to you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Have the family move to Texas. Yes. That's what I
was
want.
just waiting for some big apocalyptic thing to happen because you said that. So
no, I actually love Utah too. I mean, I was raised there, so it's home. But
why don't you move to Utah or whatever?
Well, my kid's dad's here. He has the ability to relocate if need be, wherever we move. Plus, more than anything, my son is a sophomore in high school, and he would like to finish high school here. So there's that. And that's another thing with LDRs. You got to consider all the kids and the moving and the blendings, and I mean there's just so many things.
That.
Yeah, that's mainly the main reason is kids. My son being in high school, and then I need them by their father. Being raised without one twice, two dads that opted not to be a part of my life. I just need them to be in his life. So I wouldn't want to do that to him, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you and Everett talk a lot on Zoom? Is that the
No.
go-to?
No, only after podcasts usually. No, we do a lot of just calling and talking for 3-4 hours until he falls asleep on me, which he does regularly.
So if you're interviewed on the Flameless Fireside podcast and Celeste and Everett are both saying, okay, guys, it's time to cut out.
Gotta get out of the after party.
Meeting's ending.
That's right. I'm like, okay, it's my time to chit chat with my boyfriend. So hop on out. No, we do a lot of communication every day in some sort, but Zoom is usually only on podcasts.
So good. So if you haven't been interviewed on the Flameless Fireside podcast, and you would like to be interviewed to tell your story, Celeste is your girl.
That's right.
Or John, right? I don't know. Do you guys also take messages, or is it mostly Celeste that does the gathering? I don't know. Just Celeste.
Yeah. If you reached out to John, he'll just forward you to me. So just, just go to me.
Admin.
Remove the middleman.
Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Anthony has another question. It looks like he's raising his hand. His real hand.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I do have a question about the podcast. So what's the overall purpose of the podcast?
Great.
What is the mission of the podcast?
Celeste, that's for you.
Oh, our podcast? Oh, I thought you were talking to Sherry.
No.
That's probably a question for Everett, but in my opinion, it's just to reach out to singles who feel alone and just to help them realize they're not. I think there's a lot of times because we are so few, we're not really few, but in the actual chapel, there's not a lot of singles. And so you can feel very alienated. And again, with the topics that they discuss and stuff in church, you can also feel alienated. So here we just want to be a place you can go weekly. It used to be bi-weekly, but we had to cut that down. But weekly to just connect with others who understand, to get some emotional support, to maybe learn something new. We have people share lots of different stories. We have specialists come on and share things. A place to educate, but also just to come and be among your people. Like you're my people. Like that's what it is. Like I care for each of you, and I know that John and Everett do as well. And we do this to help you. Like that's why we do it.
Yeah. It started off, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it started off as a way to get yourself out there and show the opposite sex who you are and that you're available. I don't know.
Well, it was more of like their idea was more of like a video mutual.
Yeah.
So, you go onto mutual and all you see is a picture and a paragraph. So
that sounds better than how I put it.
Yeah, their original idea was to have like an interview with the individual and then kind of cut it up into snippets depending on topics. And then that individual could use, connect links to their mutuals and stuff like that so that you could see a video of them talking, explaining, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That was the very, very, very first purpose. Yeah. So if any of you have watched the first ones, literally it's just an interview.
Getting to know them.
Yeah. And mine was like 3.5 hours long. It was the longest interview known to man, but you can't find it on there because I took it down. But but if you go back to the oldies, that's what it was. It was just more of an interview. And then we realized, or they realized, the need for different change. And we've changed it several times along the way as we recognize a greater need in certain areas, or streamlining, or whatever it is, that because we get a lot of feedback, which we appreciate, so that we can create something that's best for our audience. So,
and Celeste, how do you pronounce your last name?
Shush. It's Milliard. Just kidding. Okay, so
sorry,
that's what happened on my okay, those who've actually seen that one, but it's been gone for a long time. But that was the host at the time, Nick, was like, okay, Celeste, yeah, so how do you say your last name? Because he had forgot what my last name was. So he was just asking how he say it. And I'm like, Miller. Like, it's just Miller. So then it was a funny little moment because everyone's making fun of him because he's like, oh yeah, I actually just forgot her name. I just didn't want to say anyway. Thank you, Jared. That was awesome. I don't know if mine will ever resurface, but if it does, you got to look for that. It was funny.
That was funny. Does anyone have any other questions?
Jeff's just put one on.
Oh,
when did
start?
Flameless Fireside start? Yeah.
Okay, so my interview was in September. I think it started the end of August, mid-August of 2020, I believe.
So were we one of your first guests, me and Kathy?
No, 2020.
Oh.
It's been about a year and a half going. Yeah, maybe over a year and a half. No, the first guest was actually oh my gosh, Whitney, who ended up being, because it was just Everett and Nick, and then Whitney was interviewed, and then she became one of the hosts. So yeah, anyway, a little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
Trivia.
So,
Sherry, you have a name? You also have a group?
I do. Yes.
That's what you're tuning into, Anthony. This is not mine. This is not Flameless. This is hers.
Yeah, this is my group. Yeah.
Oh, so what's the mission of your group?
It
Because
is.
I like to talk about gospel topics. I'm not so much into to date people. I just like gospel topics.
Yeah,
but I feel like a fish out of water in Celeste group because I don't know exactly what their mission is, but they're more of getting to know individuals, I guess.
Well, maybe not so
much topic in there.
Let's talk
We
about
weave
the
gospel all the time there, Anthony.
Yeah.
No. Y'all talk about the gospel, but it's more towards the individual that's on.
I think that's the purpose of that podcast, though. I mean, it wasn't. We have church. We have church and we have church activities to do gospel, but we wanted to be able to, from what I understand, the whole premise of it was to have like-minded people who have shared faith, the same faith, but then to let us know that we're natural and we're not just, not that there's anything wrong with always talking gospel, but as singles, like she said earlier, at church, it's not geared towards single life. I mean, that the gospel is not geared towards single life. And so they wanted a group that, or a podcast that allowed us to meet and mingle like-minded people, but not necessarily be church or gospel oriented. I mean, we still try to keep it as clean as possible. We're not crude. And I mean, so I don't know.
Right.
Sorry.
No, I agree.
I took over. Sorry.
No, I agree, Jared. Like, I believe that there are a lot of Facebook streaming going on. They're like family home evenings or gospel topics or, church lessons that are coming up a Sunday. Like, there's a lot of that out there. We are solely focused on the singles. And yes, we talk gospel throughout the podcast.
I'm not
that's
saying
what we're about. But we don't talk about, this week in our lessons for church, like that type of thing, because we do want it to be a topic that is important to the singles,
right?
And so that's kind of what we do, more of the singles path.
Because I mean, I was on the hot seat there, and mine was on forgiveness. So I mean, we do gear it. So
that's cool. Yeah,
I'm not saying that. I wasn't saying we don't talk gospel. I was just wondering, I guess, because there's a lot of. To me, if you look past the individualism of it, there's more to be said about what's going on that relates to us. Like, instead of saying, what is it, like, to me, like, instead of saying, what's the church doesn't talk about us as singles, right? In Relief Society or in Young Women's, they might get an angle or a lesson that has to do with eternal families, right? So you get that. But the truth is that the problem is that all falls under like the latter times of people not being focused on Christ and more on themselves. And we're all kind of a victim of that. Like somebody like you who's been divorced 23 years. I mean, who's been divorced after 23 years you're more of a victim of somebody not being focused on Christ like they should have been. And then there's a lot of breakdown from that. So there's a lot we could pull from what's being said in church that really does apply to us, but in a kind of in a not so direct manner. You see what I'm saying? Because the church is trying to combat people.
Well, you would hope that you go into church and try to glean what you can from it. Absolutely. Because you can spin it to try to better your life. But I can promise you, people feel much more inclined to come when it's something that relates to them directly, where they're at least recognized. Because I think there's a lack of compassion. It's not so much that we want to support divorce, though I do believe the Lord was okay with mine. It's just that we need to support the individual and what they're going through and be compassionate and not judging of where they're at. And so I think that church is church, and we get church in lots of various ways. For us, we're a support group of sorts. We're an outsourced group to kind of show just compassion and empathy and give just emotional uplifting, some sort of something to them each week that they can look forward to, where they can come and just bond with others that understand. It's kind of like if I was going to a podcast for adoptive mothers. It's because that's a specific group for me that, yes, I could go and hang out with all mothers and some of the things that they have to say would work. But as an adoptive mother, a more specific group where I can talk about the things and they understand, that's where where you can really connect and bond with people. So that's why we make it so specific.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
Good question, Anthony. Bernie, you're up.
So my question, Celeste,
Yeah.
was were the Tykerts the first couple that you interviewed?
No, we've had several couples on, depending on, we've had LDRs on, we've had newly dating on, we've had newly engaged on, we've had come after they're married and now they've come back to tell us what they're going to do. We're hopefully getting Heidi on soon. You didn't know that, but I'll throw that in there for you. No, we've had lots of couples on, just because it's kind of fun, but it usually is individuals. We usually do the individual. But the Tykers, they had their own story, and they had their book, and they had a good message to share, something that all singles need to know and to focus on, I think, which is more being intentional when you go to date. I'm really not one, as I said before, to just date for fun. So
yeah. I feel like I need to add this just in case there's any misunderstanding. I don't know if there still is, but that their podcast used to be about getting to know the singles, but now it's about offering information and support, testimonials, whatever it might be, that it's more of showing support. That's why there are married couples on there, because the Tykerts are all about supporting single community. So anyway,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say that's why I agreed to do the podcast, because if it was just all about getting to know me, I would not have wanted to do that. I just don't know if people are interested in just coming in to hear about me, Yeah. But because you said, how do you support the singles in your community? I was happy to share that stuff.
Yeah. And we still do spend about the first 10-15 minutes actually getting to know the person.
Yeah.
So that it is a singles group, and there's actually been connections and boyfriends and marriages from it. So we're excited.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jared. But we just don't focus totally on them.
Right.
Like we introduce them, they tell a little about themselves, and then we usually glean off of something from their own personal story to bring in the topic. So, because everybody's got a story, so we can learn from them.
I also do, it's probably similar to what you're doing, in some of the discussions that we have, the trainings that we do, and whatever, therapists and public speakers that do their thing. I do like to build the credential at first, and that telling their story and why they're doing what they're doing really does help people to say, if they're asking, why should I listen to this person? That really helps to get to know them at first. So those are good questions that they ask at first, to share a little bit about you. So anyway, I like the podcast, and I've heard people lately saying, I love that podcast. It's new to them too. So it's growing.
We love to add people to the Flameless family. So invite all your friends, just send the little invites to the group and have them join. We love it.
Hey, Jeff, before I have you ask another question, I want to see if there's anyone else because you've already had your 4 questions. It's okay. It really is okay. But Heather, yeah, if that's okay, Jeff, we still will get to you. I want to make sure if everyone.
Yeah. Go ahead and call on someone else first.
Okay, Heather, you're on.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good. The kids are almost breaking down the door, so I just have a few minutes before I need to go and take care of the Indians.
Right.
My question is for both Sherry and Celeste, because what you're doing in life coaching and possibly dating coaching, does the new virtual connection, the virtual world, help to build your clientele better? Or are you losing, or is it a different kind of connection rather than face-to-face? Is it better because it's broader, or is it, I guess wondering, has it helped or is it making it worse, or are you using both?
So I go
I'm
first.
just starting, so I'm gonna let Sherry take this.
Okay. And you can say, well, first of all, I don't call myself a coach. I'm a certified mentor, and I'm not doing that for a living. So there might be other coaches who have more. But for my experience, what I'm doing is I'm just getting, so my purpose, you asked Anthony, you asked a little bit earlier, what is my purpose? And that is that it's just building a community of influence. Anyone who is interested in personal development are in this community, and they're helping each other. And I do have, I think I've mentioned, I have the public speakers and the life coaches and the therapists, and there's a college professor in there. They each have different areas of expertise, and they teach us different topics. Just a lot like the Fireside podcast that they do.
Is most of that done virtually, or are you actually having like face-to-face conferences?
Well, it's all done right now. It's all done virtually, but the ultimate goal, what I'm doing is Dating Olympics, and that is, it's 5 weeks of courses. It's online courses. But there's also the interaction, and there are the coaching techniques and stuff that we teach, and there's assignments that you would do to earn points. But then the Olympics part, the dating piece, is the in-person dating competition. So they would have in-person would be the opening ceremony, and then the closing ceremony also. So this is it's a lot bigger than what I'm doing right now. This is just all preliminary. I'm getting all of my groups together, my support community together. And right now, so I'm just so to answer your question, everything that I'm doing is, I'm not charging anyone right now, but I am turning them into courses that they can pay for. And it's something that is more, it would be more on their own. And then in-person is an option, but it's a lot harder to do the in-person, I think. Anyway, just because of where everyone is. If someone in my neighborhood, great. But with this in-person dating competition, I also have the ability to travel. I could go to California and do this Olympics dating, or Massachusetts. But anyway, that's where we're headed. We need to get it. We need to keep growing. But
dating competition, I guess you're calling it what it is, aren't you?
Dating competition. Yeah. So, and it really is a dating competition. And it's actually opposite of what we dating coaches teach. It's not about getting the points, but it actually helps people to overcome their fears of dating. They just make it fun. And the ultimate, I guess, the goal they would earn, if they get the most points, the male and the female will each can earn a gold or silver or bronze medal. And the gold is $500 value, and the silver is $300. And so if there's techniques, and there's science behind it. There's the dating science behind the rules that we would have, and the challenges we would anyway. So that's off on a whole other different subject. But anyway, yeah, so answer your question. There might be other coaches who would have better answer to the in-person, but for me, doing virtual has been amazing, because I can influence hundreds at the same time than I would be able to one-on-one. Oh, John, did you have something about that? What do you think?
John wants to go to Hawaii. That's what he thinks.
Okay.
Oh, he doesn't.
The Olympics in Hawaii.
I was just saying that if you do a dating competition in Hawaii, I'll do that live.
Okay. Very good. Right.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
So I just want to add something really quick. I believe that the Lord has used this COVID scenario where we've connected online to his benefit. Yeah. And I think that we're finally realizing that virtual can work and a lot higher, more it can be a lot better than we ever would have assumed prior to COVID. So with me, my dating coaching will be virtual. I don't know. I mean, I guess if there's someone local, but I want to keep it really small. I mean, I've got kids at home. I don't need a full-on career right now. I'm just kind of dabbling in it and kind of figuring it out as I go along right now. But I think I want it to be, LDS members from wherever that I can just connect with virtually. And again, just because, I mean, people, especially in a place where it's really like rural or something, and they just don't have a lot of support, I can be there for them. So anyway.
You have a broader influence for sure online. Yeah. Absolutely.
That makes sense. My stake has nothing for single adults. It's actually the only stake in the province that doesn't have even a single adult rep. And I keep pushing back and they keep saying, oh, we're trying. I'm like, we'll try harder.
Yeah, that's why it's grassroots. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. That if it wasn't for this virtual and online stuff, I wouldn't meet anyone really.
Yeah.
Unless I'm traveling 3, 4, 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, I don't even know what a single adult rep is. Like, and I live in Utah, so I just don't. I must be so far out of that culture. I'm not sure.
It's just a calling at church. It's the person.
Yeah. Well, I just yeah. I don't know what they do though. Do they do anything? I mean, they've got to do something. I just don't know.
Doing something.
Do something, planning events, or I don't know, lining people up. Are they like lining people up?
No, I don't think they do that.
Makers, make me a match. Maybe they're given the mantle. They're inspired to tell you who you should marry. Okay, if anyone else doesn't have anything, we'll let Jeff go again. Okay, Jeff, you're on.
Okay. All right, Celeste,
Yes.
really quick question.
Yeah.
You talked about earlier how you had kind of a strenuous screening process when you're dating and not in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, and I'm asking this mostly for the benefit of the guys in this group, but how did you determine who makes the cut?
Okay, so
of the criteria.
I'm going to be 100% honest on this, so y'all might not like it, but first of all, they had to make me laugh. They had to be funny. Secondly, I had to think they were attractive. Like I have a certain look. I like wide eyes. I like broad shoulders. I like beautiful smiles. Like there's certain things that that I'm attracted to. And so that was one of them. But one of the big things is communication. Can they hold a conversation via text? Can they hold a conversation over the phone? I'm a huge communicator. I love to write. I'm writing a book. I just like, that is just so me, and it was so important. And so as long as, I know the looks were big, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, funny and good at communication. And of course, like spiritual, those type of things, but online, it's just hard. So it was automatically, can they crack a joke? Can they be witty? Because I used to love to just do playful banter on the pages. I just like start bantering with someone and like kind of messing with them. And if they couldn't mess back, like, that doesn't work for me. Like I have to have that kind of fun interaction, teasing each other kind of thing. And so that's how they would progress from maybe I met them on a page. They had some fun banter. Okay, now they're in my messenger. Now we're still bantering, but we're having some good conversation too. Okay, he's got some blue eyes and a pretty smile and broad shoulders. Okay, now we're on to the next stuff. Like that's just kind of, it was just for me. I have certain likes. I'm not opposed to anybody with preferences. I think anytime someone gets shamed for having preferences, it's coming from someone who has low self-esteem. Yeah. So love who you want to love and like who you want to like and go for who you want to go for. That's kind of my thing. So
that's right.
The only difference is you admit it.
I admit it. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but I will admit it. That's so true. So
it's good to be clear on what you're looking for sure.
I've been in many fights online about the topic. I'm not shy about it.
Yeah.
So
good.
Yes,
why would be shy about it?
People get offended. They get upset. So I'm like, I don't mean it rude, but I have a certain type that I like. And so
Yeah.
do you. You may not want to admit
Right.
it, but it's true.
And they're saying, you're my type. Why am I
Yeah,
not?
and it has to go both ways. Yes. Like, I mean, it's got to be a mutual thing going on, right? So, yeah.
Very good. Celeste, thank you for coming on. Just if anyone has any last comments or last hugs or kisses for Celeste.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Tell Everett if you're going to throw her kisses. Thanks for being on tonight. And you guys, everyone, thank you for joining. Sweet dreams, everyone.
Yes. Have a good night. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We'll see you on mine Wednesday.